Colour in Your Life is proudly sponsored by hobbycraft stores across the UK. For more information, go to hobbycraft.co.uk. G'day viewers, my name's Graeme Stevenson and I'd like to invite you to come on a journey of creativity and learning and adventure through the series Colour in Your Life. There's an artist in every family throughout the world, and lots of times there's an artist deep down inside all of us as well. So grab your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, uncles and mums and dads and come and see how some of the best artists do what they do. Okay folks, how are you? Well, welcome to the mountains of Snowdonia in Wales. Fantastic to be here. Colour in Your Life, crossing the oceans and coming to the UK with the help of some fantastic people over here. But I specifically do have to thank Hobbycraft, the organisation that basically has art and craft shops right across the United Kingdom. They have stepped up to the plate through Ian Walton and Leon Bowen and have put together a series of fantastic artists for us to come over and start the series in the United Kingdom. We really appreciate what they've done and it's enabled us to be able to start the series in the UK. And as you can see, some fantastic places. We're visiting some amazing artists and it's because of this company that we've been able to do this. So Hobbycraft, thank you, A1, and we really, really appreciate it. I went into one of the stores of the 89 that are located across the UK and met up with the management of the Chester store. Hobbycraft have a huge variety of products, well over 25,000. And not only do they sell some of the best brands, they also conduct workshops and art competitions across all of their stores. The range of art supplies is extensive, from oils to acrylics, watercolours, pencils, easels, and a huge range of ready-made canvases as well. Whether you are a novice or a professional artist, Hobbycraft is there to advise and assist, not just the individual artist, but art groups of all kinds right across the UK. Their mission is to inspire and encourage the passion and pleasure that the creative mind can be. Drop in and say hi and catch up with the team at hobbycraft.co.uk. Okay folks, welcome back to Colour in Your Life. Well, we are up near Chester in the north of England and we're going to be working with the young man today, Jonathan Brier. Jonathan?
Hi Graeme.
Welcome to the show, pal.
Thank you.
Jonathan's a really magnificent portrait artist. I mean, that's just the best way to describe it. And he's got a really different twist to the way that he puts his work together. You actually work with your girlfriend a lot, Emily.
Yeah, my partner, she's fantastic.
She's beautiful too.
Yeah, she's stunning.
I mean, as I said, when you see what Jonathan does through the show, you'll be just amazed. He's a very talented man. But today he's actually going to be doing a picture of his dog, a rescue dog.
A rescue dog, yeah, big into rescue dogs. So we've got two, got a staff in English bowl.
That's great. Well, we call them pig dogs in
Australia. Yeah, pigs might fly. Yeah. We might train them as well, but no.
And you work on board a lot.
Yeah, I used to work on canvas. I found it was too springy. Cheap canvas, tend to put my foot through it. I like to, kind of work pretty hard on them, so I can build up the texture like I like. I used to work really thin, really fine, glassy almost, but now I like a little bit more bite. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go through today because there's some really unusual techniques that Jonathan actually uses to put all this together, but they really are beautiful paintings, and I know that I'm going to enjoy the day sitting watching what this young man does. So I'll get out of the shot as I normally do, sit down, and I'll let you take over.
Thank you very much.
Go from there. Okay, Jonathan, well, I can see that you've already sketched out Blaze on your board there, and I noticed that you had a kneadable rubber in your hand at one stage, so where do we go from here?
Basically, I like to work out what I'm going to do to start with. Sometimes it'll be more complicated, other times I'll work a lot looser. But for this, it's kind of a new subject for me. I thought I'd try something out. So I wanted to get to know my subject. So they're not the full darks, they're not the full lights, they're not the full composition in that sense, but I just wanted to get an idea of where everything was placed.
And you do use alkyd oils as well?
Yeah, I use alkyds, mostly alkyds. I will mix in oils, especially for the longer paintings. I tend to work in layers and glazes, so the alkyds are perfect for that. They dry pretty quickly, they're very transparent if you want, so you can build them up. Okie doke, well first of all, you can see the sketch, but I like to take that back quite a bit So yeah, I'll just be rubbing that, get it thin, because I don't want to pick up too much pencil.
So, but you've sketched it on reasonably dark and you're just pulling it back now?
Yeah, pull it back. If it's too thick, I'll even use things like gaffer tape to pull off the pencil.
Yeah.
I just don't want too much.
idea.
Anything to get it off, masking tape. I'm not going to worry too much about it on this one. I think it's probably good that you can see what I'm working on, but it's kind of knowing it's there. I don't fix it. I don't want it to be something that I rigidly stick to, but I just want that comfort to start with. I'm not much of a from life painter at the moment. I want to get there, but for me, this is the most comfortable way of doing it.
Yeah. Now you've got
tricky here, yeah.
Got a trick on here.
Yeah, there we go.
That, unbeknownst to probably a lot of people that are watching this, is going to be your palette.
Yeah, this is my palette. To find your darks, make your lights pop out a little bit more, a neutral palette works quite well. So I paint these up myself. I just use an old clip frame and just paint the back. I'm going to use two colours. I used to use like maybe a Payne's grey or an ivory black, but I find that I can skip maybe a little bit ahead. If I'm using two colours, I can mix the burnt sienna and the ultramarine blue, so I can aim slightly darker with the blue, and I can keep it slightly more lively with the burnt sienna. I love burnt sienna. It's just
good colour.
Fantastic colour. Yeah, I don't know. It's not a colour that you find on the colour wheel as such, but it's it's not one of your primaries, but I can't live without it really. It just answers a lot of questions for me really. Yeah.
So what are you doing now? You actually put some
I'm
linseed oil?
just putting a little bit of linseed oil on my palette.
Yeah.
This is the way I work. I don't do a 3-cup mixture or anything like that. I just like to feel how I'm getting on.
Okay.
Much more about touch. I was never really taught to paint as much as learning from things like YouTube and stuff like that. So I kind of just felt it rather than, you find out these things that people do after.
But you did get a degree in illustration.
Yeah.
As well, so.
I did. So it was only after I left uni, really, that I started to learn to paint. That was my thing that I wish I'd done.
Yeah.
I wish I'd spent 3 years learning to paint, to be honest.
So I'm not sure if the folks who are watching this can see this, but you're using a monitor.
Yeah, I've just got my laptop. I used to work from photographs. I work from life if I can, like the fruit and still life, so I'll do from life, but I tend to work that long and that slowly that working from a live model, just at the moment anyway, it just doesn't really fit for me.
So I'm watching when you put the paint on, you've got a number of small cotton rags there, but you keep going in and then wiping the paint back and off.
When I was learning to paint, I kept things simple, and by keeping the paint thin, it meant that the heavy mistakes I didn't happen quite so often.
Yeah.
And I just got in this habit of using paint almost like watercolour for a lot of the time, and the rag just helps keep it thinner. So if you're working with thin paint like this, you can start pulling the paint off more quickly than you're putting it on. So it just helps me stain the canvas, get it down, and I can build up layers faster, because I'm a pretty slow painter as such. So I like to be able to keep it moving, whereas if I was going to do a genuine glaze, then I'd find that I was letting it dry, and even with the alkyds I'd be maybe waiting half a day or a day or so. So this way I can, with a little bit of oil, keeps it moving, but I can gradually thicken it up, the fat over lean kind of theory, and I can just build it up throughout the day, so I don't have to stop after an hour or so and rework. So that's the cloth. I mean, it's just an old shirt. I find that I've gone through loads of things, rags, cotton, this and that, tissues, but work shirts seem to be the best.
I've noticed with your work that you don't finish it.
I mean, I haven't got a problem with like photorealism. I like it, I admire it, but I kind of get bored when it comes to bits that I'm not interested in, backgrounds and things like that. But I think by having that broken edge, it kind of puts you in a position where it separates you from reality enough to make it look more real. And then that brokenness it detaches it from the real world, so you can see it as its own thing. It's kind of like a frame on a frame.
So tell me about the fruit.
Because I work like this, and because the way I taught myself to build up in layers, and it was kind of a safety net, basically the fruit is just a way of practicing without wasting too much time or giving me the freedom to make mistakes. Painting like these can take weeks or months or even years sometimes, and just makes you a little bit nervous or a bit restricted, you know. So do something that lets you experiment. I like the fruit paintings, but they are what they are. They're studies. There's no real huge amount of depth to them. I
think that's an important point. I mean, you can see the beautiful detail and the softness of the colours that you use on your palette. Obviously you don't use a lot of colour, but you've crafted it enough to be able to do that.
It taught me a lot about reflected light, actually. Just the base, because I always painted them on white surface, and on that white surface really gives you an option of seeing what colours are reflected from the apple or the orange or whatever it is. So you've got those kind of muddy oranges coming through, or the blues and greens that aren't even in the fruit, really. They're kind of a greyed version of them.
Yeah. But you look at your skin tones on the portraits that you've painted, they're just beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful skin tones, they really are.
With keeping it simple, the first thing I wanted to do was paint skin.
Mm-hmm. Now, just talking about the skin tones as well, I'd like to show up some of the paintings. You've got one called 1,000 Lies, which is one of Emily as well. And particularly with a lot of the work you do, the portraits don't confront people, they're actually looking away. They're actually in...
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny one. I think I don't really consider most of the paintings portraits.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to explain this point to my mum, but she studies art and all sorts, but she doesn't quite get it. But if I'm doing a painting for somebody, of somebody, then it's a portrait. If I'm doing a painting with a figure in it, then I don't really see it as being a portrait. They're kind of actors. It's not necessarily trying to tell something about that person, which I think a portrait, you're trying to get somebody or a part of somebody, or you want to relate to it as that individual, whereas something like 1,000 Lies is more about the feeling of the whole painting and what it may or may not evoke.
There's one of the last called Jill,
who's
the red-headed girl, and that's called All That Remains. These titles are invoking some type of emotion as well, from what I can see.
I'm not really looking to capture a moment or a person specifically, like a lot of people want to catch a moment in time or something. I kind of like the idea that things exist and then they're gone. So everything's fresh, like a meme, or like your kind of internet things, or everything's a little bit of the moment, but the next minute they're kind of chip wrapping, the image, the poster, the advert, the product, it's all kind of gone. But I think that the way I want my work to go is kind of confront that a little bit more, the sort of consumerist society, things like that. So that's where the titles come in. I think probably failed with the painting a little bit, that the titles explain it better. On a subject like this, like I was saying before, I'm not too worried about too much of it looking perfect at this point. The only areas that kind of worry me on a face, particularly the eyes, if I can get those right to start with, the rest of it will eventually kind of fall into place. If you get too dark earlier on, you lose a bit of the life, and the point of glazing, the point of using thin paint is you're going to get a light. It's like a window glazing. It's kind of self-explanatory that way, but it helps the light pass through. Whereas using more opaque paint, you're going for more of a direct painting, and if you put too darker colours underneath, you're not going to get that reflection coming through.
And also, while you work, Jonathan, you told me that you listen to audiobooks. How does that help you with you?
I love it. You listen to a lot of music as well, but
yeah,
you're always looking at the same things, or you find yourself trying to find something new when you should be working. But an audiobook, you spend 10 minutes and you find something that's free or downloadable or on YouTube or whatever, podcasts, and you might have like 20 hours of story to just work to. It just helps the pace. Music tends to make things, the sort of music I listen to tends to make things a little bit frantic, maybe when you're trying to focus, but an audiobook just has a pace. You can just get on with it. You don't have to change the track or look over your shoulder or anything. It's just kind of there with you. But yeah, it might just be how the solar system goes around one day, and it might be top 10 murderers of all time the next. It's whatever. Gonna start mixing a little bit of the background just early on. Got an idea for the background, but it's gonna be quite broken up. so I just want to start hitting a bit of the colour in it at the moment. So I'm going to start adding a few more paints to my palette. The reason why you see people painting with oils, they'll have their palettes slapped all over with paint from yesterday and a week before, obviously, because it won't dry. You just keep topping it up. But with alkyds, they don't dry as quickly as acrylic, but they will get stiff, or they will dry out in a day or two. So I tend to try not to waste too much paint when I don't need to. So I've added alizarin, some Viridian. I'm just adding a bit of Prussian blue here. So these are going to be used again in the portrait of Blaze.
Yeah.
But they're also going to start being added into the background. Just going to put a bit more oil. So I tend to just put a bit of oil on the palette to start with, and then whatever I mix into it. It's going to be one session, so I don't worry too much about how lean it is or how thick it is at this point. I don't have more than about 8 colours on a palette at any one time, but I think even with this mix here, I know roughly where I want to go, and when I see it I can pull it back, but it's still a bit of an experiment to get the colour I'm looking for. But with that shorter mix, you really got to know whether you were going to put a pinky purple shadow in or whether you were putting a highlight.
The picture Butterfly Thoughts, is that of Emily as well?
Yeah, that's of Emily. I really like that. It was a bit of a turning point. It's funny looking back. It's not a recent painting, that one, but it's very simple.
Yeah, there's another one here you've got called Expectant, and it's a young woman looking out a window, and you can barely see, there's that much light coming onto her face that you can barely see her face, but it just tells so much within the picture.
It's funny, it's tricky to leave stuff out as much as it is to put stuff in.
So I've noticed in a lot of your work, Jonathan, you have these random geometric shapes that sort of tend to appear in the background and sort of sometimes even cross into the subject matter. Why do you do that?
It goes into that whole disposable aspect. I don't necessarily want you to know exactly what's going on. I don't want it to be exactly like a billboard, but it's that kind of time that passes. So you've got those ripped posters over the top of fresher ones, and yeah, it's just to keep adding a little bit of interest to it.
Now, also the series that you've done with Emily, she's actually in the same dress.
Yeah, my partner, she's stunning. She's not very happy to be a model, so I kind of made the most of it. The idea of the white dress is focus on the skin. Just keep everything simple. I really like them. I think she didn't want to pose, and I don't think it comes across staged like something you don't know and you're just putting them in a position. I think there was a lot of natural, almost tension in them when we were doing them. So for me, it gave me a lot of material to work with. I'm eternally grateful for her letting me take the photos and paint her and everything. I think they're great.
Now, you've just picked up a credit card.
Yeah, it's part of the whole trying to not be quite so, adding a bit of fun back into some of it in places, but no, I kind of pick these up everywhere, so if anybody's got like an old card or just like, oh, I'll have that.
And also, Jonathan, tell me about the Misfits. What's that all about?
Yeah, it's a bit of a side project I've got going on at the moment. I met an author, Marianne Coate. She's doing a trilogy called Bonds. They're pretty good vampire mystery type books. They're going to be big, but she wanted to do something for kids. So we were sitting having a chat, and she was talking about doing this book. Obviously, I was like, well, I used to be an illustrator of sorts. I'd love to have a go, and it was one of those where we both just thought, oh, let's give it a go. So I've spent a little bit of time doing character designs and everything for it, and hopefully we're going to have this book out for Halloween.
Well, that looks really, really great, Jonathan.
It's starting to take a little bit of shape. But yeah, at this stage, it's just kind of like having a bit of fun.
I wanted to talk about your prints as well. You're obviously producing prints of your work, great idea. So if somebody wanted to come in and have a look at what you're doing, as well as your workshops and your teaching as well,
yeah.
Because Jonathan's obviously, as you can see, a very, very skilled artist. What's your website address, bud?
Website is jonathan-brier.com.
There you go.
Yeah.
So go in there and have a look, guys. He's got some absolutely magnificent work. Somebody that I personally think has an amazing grasp on the human form and colour and light. Very talented man.
Thank you, Graeme.
And you've also won a number of awards over the years with your work, and been represented in some very exclusive galleries. You're actually in the Ian Walton Gallery at the moment in
Yeah,
Farndon.
certainly am. Ian's been a good friend of mine for a long time, but he's finally got galleries together and it's absolutely fantastic. I've exhibited with Ian several times, we've done our own thing, and it's just amazing that it's coming together at the moment. Yeah, as well exhibiting here, I do a little bit of teaching as well. Try not to do too much, but I enjoy it. Particularly, I like to teach young adults, particularly those that are looking for an education in it. They kind of specifically want it. It's always easier to teach somebody that's definitely interested and convince them that they want to do it. I was never very good at being told that I had to learn anything, but I wish I'd been taught better when I was younger at things that I did want to do. So as many flaws as I have as an artist, which pretty much makes me me, I try and strip it back to what the essentials are. I don't want them to paint like me, but I want them to know that there's things like opaque colours and transparent colours and shadows and how to look for light and things. Things that are just a little bit more than get on with it and express yourself. I find that to be, I think express yourself is, it's great, but if you can do something properly, then you can express yourself better. So if you've got a bit of skill behind you, you can really express yourself, and I want to give them that foundation. What they do with it is up to them, obviously, but it's nice to have that energy. They've kind of got an energy that a lot of adults don't have anymore, which is, yeah, I really enjoy that. I do enjoy teaching adults as well. It's a pastime for a lot of adults, whereas children have got that, maybe the desire to go forward, and that's, yeah, it's kind of nice to be at that point, you know, look back and think that I want to give them something that I never had. So that's what I like about that.
Noble sentiments.
Thank you. As far as today goes, I think that's about as far as I'm going to get in one session. From this point, let it dry, let it sit a bit, and I just keep working into it. It can take weeks to months to finalise a painting, but as far as it's a reasonable start, so I hope you got an idea of basics of my process, and from here on it's just time and patience, really. So.
Looks great, Jonathan, it really
Thanks,
does.
Graeme.
Yeah,
Cheers.
thanks for having us in your studio.
No,
It's been
absolute pleasure. Brilliant, thank you.
just amazing.
Cheers, guys.
Okay, guys, another fantastic day with a very talented man, Jonathan.
Thank you very much,
Yeah,
Graeme.
yeah,
Cheers.
we had a great time. Beautiful picture as well. Now, if folks want to come along and be part and parcel of your workshops,
Yeah.
and to get in touch with you, what's your website address?
Website's jonathan-brier.com. Everything I've got going on, it's
Okay.
on there, links to Facebook and everything. So.
Yeah, come in. If you're in the Northern England, Northern Wales area, obviously we're in the UK, give him a buzz, get in touch and come along. And as always, you can come and see us at colouryourlife.com.au, Facebook page, YouTube, lots of people in there, tons of things going on. We're having a great time in the UK. The folks are fantastic. Weather could be better, but
Good, yeah.
we're having a great time here. But until we see you guys again, remember, make sure we put some colour in your life. See you guys. Bye now.
See you guys.
Mm-hmm.